Welcome to Media Rebel Unplugged, where real women share their wins, failures, and their wild stories about surviving, rebelling, and sometimes just keeping it together with lip gloss and a whole lot of caffeine. Join us as we dive into the rebellion. And don't forget to subscribe and share our podcast.
Welcome back to Media Rebel Unplugged. I'm Janice Becker, your host. Today I am joined with Makenzi Roberts. She is the marketing manager with Rheem, which is a global manufacturer in the HVAC industry. And she also happens to be an expert in motocross. Thank you for joining us, Makenzi.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I am really excited to have you on Media Rebel Unplugged today. We've been learning a little bit about your background. It's clear that you're somebody who is all about breaking barriers, whether it's in marketing or motocross in these very male-dominated industries. Before we get into all that, though, can you tell us just 3 words that would describe you?
I've been described as spunky, which is probably pretty accurate. Resilient, I would say, would be one, and just transparent and honest. I know that's 4 words, but they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's something that we definitely here feel the same thing. I think we try to embody that. Transparency is something that's very important these days. You know, it's sometimes hard to find, especially I think in the marketing world. And being that, you know, you specialize in content marketing and leading teams, launching these campaigns that you have. Before all that, what pulled you into marketing in the first place? Like, was that always your plan, or did you just find yourself here in an unexpected way?
Well, I will say, I don't think there are many people in HVAC that planned necessarily to be an HVAC. So I'll tell you, growing up, I wanted to be a doctor. I was pre-med in school and quickly learned about second year into that I am swimming upstream and this was not the place for me. So dove into business. But while I was doing that, I was simultaneously starting my own company, which was a race team in motocross. It's an all-female race team. And what I learned through that experience was just how much I loved promoting people and sharing people's stories and finding ways to elevate other people in their hustle. And I was like, the best way to do this is in marketing, whether it's a person or whether it's a box that moves air, like I do now. There's stories all throughout that. And I wanted to find a way to tell them.
I think that's awesome. And I love seeing another female in the motocross world. My family, actually, they were all about riding bikes. My grandmother was really big in riding motorcycles, and her mother was actually on the cover of a Harley Davidson magazine in the 30s. This was my great grandfather. Yeah. He
That's
actually
amazing.
patented the little bolt that goes in to make a 2-seater. He patented that. So I really have so much respect for that. And I know, like, it's just such a, I think, unheard of for some reason, but I mean, it's a pretty cool thing. They don't realize how many women are actually involved in motocross.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of them. And that was what I wanted to do, was share their stories and make them known and seen. And that was the most exciting part about that chapter in my life, was meeting the women behind the scenes, but also on the starting gate. It was a really unique experience.
Yeah, that's actually one of the questions that I had for you, is like, what was that like for you being in these 2 male-dominated fields? Have you had anything where you felt like you really had to use your voice, or maybe had to fight a little bit harder to be seen or heard in those industries?
I think let's start with the motocross field. I quickly realized that I was not going to be the fastest girl out there. There are some super talented women out there on bikes. And what I learned so much during that time was that advocating for the unheard is super valuable and powerful, but also advocating for a seat at the table. And I think that translates into any industry, that we see a big difference in the diversity when it comes to men and women. And when women are at the table, things change. And it's really powerful and unique. I'm a believer that God made us different. God made men with certain skills and women with certain skills. And I find that in the motocross world and in HVAC, that the companies that are most successful are finding that to lean in on the strengths will mean success for them long term. And so I've been blessed with some incredible mentors in my life who've helped pave the way for women to find a seat at the table. And I'm honored to be able to do that right after them too, to ensure that women's skills such as hospitality and relationship and the things that women really bring to organizations can be nurtured, seen, and appreciated. And then through that, building more seats for more women with their skills.
I love that. I think that's so important, for women to have a seat at the table and to have those special mentors in your life. I know that's something you had mentioned prior to coming on here. Speaking of those mentors in your life, what is it that they did for you? And if you want to mention them, feel free to give them some credit here too.
Yeah, sure. So, I have lots of mentors. I am a product of many people who have poured into me and have poured into my life. And one thing sticks out particularly with this conversation, which is you have a choice. Every single one of us has a choice. We can either let things happen to us or we can control the narrative. And I think as a woman paving the way and male dominated industries, whether that be in the motocross world or within HVAC, is you can lean into the woe is me mentality where I'm the only one, like, how am I going to do this? Or you can let it not be an obstacle at all and just find a way to let your voice be heard and sharpen your skills to be the best at the table, whether you're male or female. And I think that wisdom that was passed to me early in my career was super helpful. And I look at my mentors now and I think of Makenzi Roberts, who is one of the leaders here at Rheem Manufacturing. And I look at how he trusts his people to do good work. And we do good work because of that trust, because of that autonomy that he gives us. And I think part of being a trailblazer, part of being successful in male-dominated industries also greatly has to do with the leadership that each organization has. And I'm very proud of what Rheem Manufacturing has built with that servant-led leadership that really, if you're the best person for the job, they're going to trust you to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. It's really hard to find companies nowadays that actually offer that servant leadership and kind of say, hey, look, I trust you to do your job. You know what you're doing. That's why we put you here in the first place. And that's one thing that I do know from Rheem too, just my experience working with those people, when I had that opportunity, and it was just refreshing to see that. And I think in so many ways, Rheem has been pretty innovative. We talk a lot here about AI in particular. In fact, I even mentioned it right before we got on the call. What are one of the ways that you all are applying AI in your day-to-day?
Goodness. So AI is kind of an uncharted territory for a lot of industries. And I will say that historically, whether it's AI or other technology, HVAC typically is a little behind. Right? HVAC is not always the groundbreaking use case for some of the world's best technology. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. But AI has been intriguing for us. What it has done is it's allowed a lot of efficiency to happen naturally within our organization, whether it be from a systems perspective or communications perspective. But it also is kind of this uncharted territory that our teams are working on right now into how we can integrate into the user experience. And so whether that be, picking up the phone and calling our teams here at Rheem, or is there a way that we can integrate it into our product technology? I think a lot of that is unknown today, but it's like this exciting thing that we're trying to figure out and sort out as an organization.
Are you applying that in marketing? Is there any specific tools that you all utilize?
Yeah, so, right now we're not using one specific tool on the AI side. So we try to find ways to, we have our internal AI chat kind of interaction sort of tool that can help, kind of like a chat GPT, but an internalized, safeguarded one. Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing that organizations are still trying to figure out. Honestly, is how do we protect our intellectual property? How do we utilize these great resources that are out there while not giving away the secrets, right? Like not giving away the secret sauce. And so right now what we're seeing is our IT teams are finding safe ways for our teams to use that, to be able to get some of that efficiency, save some time, but also in a way that we are protecting Rheem as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's something that, we hear too. Some people are really worried about that. I think that as we continue to go, we will grow and we'll find those ways of really securing and also working more efficiently. So I think that's great that's at least something that is open to being received, realizing that it's not something that's going to go away.
Right.
So about how do we embrace it? How do we utilize the tool? And that's something that we've discussed before. It's not, look at the way it's been integrated into the smart technology in homes too, like the thermostats are being used. That's something that's really come a long way back from when I could think of when I was a kid, and it was like this really old fashioned, rotary looking thing on a wall that now I don't think kids would even know how to operate.
Yeah, probably not. And we are seeing, with that smart home, that connected universe that we have now. If you think of like the EcoNet, which is the system that we use with our HVAC systems, the EcoNet smart technology that can be integrated into apps and things that the homeowner would normally use. I want to pivot just really quick, if we can, back to the marketing. Something that came to mind is how we're using AI for content marketing. So I'll give you an example. One of the things that we're doing right now is we're going all over the country telling some of our elite contractor stories. And we're, we go into these communities and learn, why do you do what you do? What do you do what you do? And we get all this great content. It's actually been award-winning content we're so proud of, that, what we've been able to use AI for, and that are things like, if we need a voiceover, right? Instead of having someone on, a microphone voicing over, we've got technology that can do that for us. We load in a script and it spits it out. It's amazing. And then just from the slicing and dicing of certain content, we're able to do that. And it's amazing how, 15 years ago, none of this was even thought of. I mean, truthfully, it really is such a new thing. And I just think as a marketer and as a content marketer, the hours that we spend just shifting through hours and hours and hours of B-roll and hours of interviews, how AI is able to streamline that and make it so much easier for our content teams and our production teams. It's saving Rheem money. At the end of the day, it's saving us money because of the hours that we're able to save. But then I just think about our editors, the time and their ability to, they're not being replaced. Let's reemphasize that. They're not being replaced, but they're able to put some of that work on a tool that can make them do what they know how to do even better. It's just amazing.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Editing has taken like so many hours, and the AI tools now that we have that we didn't have even just 5 years ago, it really makes you so much more efficient. And there is still editing involved. We use AI tools and we see the same thing. Like you said, the voice generated. I think that's amazing, especially when you can tell it to speak in a tone of voice and it sounds more human now. It doesn't sound like your Siri type of voice that we're used to hearing before. And that's so refreshing to have, and to have that access to, or to tell it to speak more professionally, or to be more conversational, or I love how you can change that up. And that's, like you said, man, does it save so much time and money?
Yeah, it does. And that's, I think, the future of it. Yeah, that's what we want it to do. We need it to do those things. And now we finally have the technology to make it so much easier. It's a blessing.
Completely agree. Something I thought was really interesting was how you're a member of a community of women in HVAC called HVACR. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that, and how do you support one another?
So Women in HVACR is a nonprofit organization that really unites women within this industry. We've got women in manufacturing leadership. We've got them all the way to the women installing the products. And then you think about all the women involved in the support of the industry, women in agencies, women in marketing firms that are supporting. So what this wonderful organization does is it puts on not just conferences every year, which I think personally is one of my favorite things that they do, but they also do, weekly calls where they'll have experts from all sorts of different areas of life to come in and talk to the members of Women in HVACR. They do regional meetups for that networking. And what's really unique about this organization is that these are all people who are volunteering their time to make this happen. And I think that's so special and unique, and really just speaks volumes of the women within our industry who want to pour into other women and show that, first of all, you're not alone. It might feel that way sometimes, but you're not alone. You have other women who make great mentors and who have gone before you that you can reach out to. It's women empowering women.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. My son, he's an HVAC and he's getting ready to graduate. And I asked him, like, how many girls do you have in your class? And he said, only one. And I was like, wow. I think that's so amazing that you have that organization so that women don't feel alone, because it is so easy to feel like you're on your own island. And when you have a mentor, you have someone you can immediately reach out to that might have more experience than you, especially when you're new to it. That's such a comfort and a blessing to have. And I know, you had mentioned before about you really want to pour into other women. What is some way that you're doing that, maybe directly?
Yeah. So I think the easiest, if you want to call it easiest, I'm putting that in air quotes because that's so subjective, but the team I have at Rheem, I just think of some of the people that work on our team and an individual that works for me on my team. That direct relationship has just been such a special thing. And her being a young woman in the industry, watching her blossom into this incredible professional who has this long runway ahead of her as a manager, as a people manager. I mean, gosh, you cannot ask for anything more. That direct relationship, I think, would be what I call low-hanging fruit. But I do think that some of the things I'm really proud of is my advocacy in our communities, not just faith communities, not just the HVACR communities, our local community, finding, high schoolers or middle schoolers to work with. I was a grief counselor for about 6-7 years and partnering with young women who lost a parent or a sibling. Being in those raw moments of life with young women is such an honor and a privilege. I find that I become a better person just by hopefully helping them become a better person. Every interaction you have a choice. You can leave this individual with a gold nugget that's going to make them better or help their day be brighter or lift them up in some way. I think if we were to all just take advantage of those day-to-day interactions where we have that choice, I mean, gosh, the world would be a better place.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And I love that. I think we can all use a little extra help every now and then. And that's always great to have that, especially from a professional standpoint.
I think we weren't meant to do this life alone. We are created to be in community. And so when you find people and organizations like Women in HVACR that builds this community of women who are really out there just grinding and doing the hard stuff and making it happen, there's power in numbers. The Women in HVACR conference 3 years ago, and you look and you went to the conference this last fall, the numbers are incredibly different in such a positive way. Our industry is growing. Women in our industry is growing. As a woman in this industry, it just makes me so excited because I think back to when I started in 2014 and look at where it is now. I'm working on the day-to-day with women, not just within our manufacturing community, at the distributor level, at the contractor level. If you look at some of the stats, a lot of times people are like, oh, we don't need to market to the moms, or we don't need to necessarily market to the wives because it's really the guys that know all the technology and they're going to get it. That's actually not what the data is telling us.
Exactly.
The data is telling us it's the woman in the home that's making the decision. And so who better to market to women than women? And so it's just really neat to see how, organizations, companies like Rheem have found a way to lean into the people that work there and their strengths, and then how we're able to reach our customer, better serve our communities because of those skill sets.
I love that you mentioned how much that's evolved in just the past 3 years, because the question that I had for you was, where do you see this going? If you had to look at the industry 5 years from now, what do you envision that looking like?
I think we're going to continue to see growth. I think we all wish we had a crystal ball, right, to look in. If you're in the HVAC world, women in HVAC is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the things that we're looking forward to seeing. We're a highly now regulated industry. We'd love to see that be a little bit easier, and maybe not the case. But if we're focusing on what the future for women in HVACR looks like, I think it's limitless. Within Rheem as a whole, I think of one of our incredible leaders, Karen Myers, who is a VP within our organization. There is no ceiling in HVAC for women. I think it's starting to spread into other industries. I think women in general, no matter what industry you're in, the ceiling is broken. And I just thank all of the women who came before us who helped break those barriers. But for HVAC as a whole, I'm just going to project, right? Maybe I'll speak this into existence, but I see more female CEOs. I see more females leading sales, marketing, and engineering organizations. Speaking of, Rosa Leal is an incredible individual within Rheem. I have seen her do amazing things. This woman has over, 100 patents to her name. She's brilliant, multilingual, incredible Latin American culture that she brings into our organization. She is a woman making waves in our industry. And I just think of people like her who make the future for women extremely bright.
That's so awesome to hear. I really admire women like that. I think it's so refreshing to see that we're not feeling unwelcomed in that community. And, we're going in there kind of, like you said, thanks to these other women who've led the charge on it. We're we're going in and we're going to start dominating it, I think, more than ever. And when you look at, these women stepping in whatever male dominated industry it might be, what would you say, what advice would you give them for pushing forward and making an impact?
I actually wrote some down because I thought back to some advice that I've been given. So I have 3 points for you on this one. First is this: find mentors. Find mentors who will advocate for you, who will keep you focused, who will encourage you and just push you into the right direction. Number 2 is to speak up and take up space. You are worthy of that space at the table. You deserve and are worthy of that space. So take it. If you've got the opportunity, take it. Third, I would say push past that imposter syndrome. If you're in the room, you belong there. I will turn up the volume for women all over and just say, if you're there for a reason. Figure out what that reason is, lean in on that reason, and just rock it. I mean, you're there for a purpose.
I love that. I think that's going to help so many people. You really hit the nail on the head. And I appreciate you coming prepared for that for other women. And I love that you mentioned imposter syndrome. I think it's normal for anybody to really feel that sometimes, especially when you're going through it. And, it's like they say, you don't always see what's at the end of what it is you're going through. Like there's some blessing at the end of it. Just hang in there, because you don't see it when you're in it, when you're getting through the mud. There is a rainbow and there is green grass on the other side, and just keep on going and keep up with that rebellious spirit that gets you through. That's how we really embody the name Media Rebel here. Is it's just about,
love it.
Yeah, you just got to go in, and no matter what anybody says, and sometimes we can be our worst enemy. We can be our worst critic. And having mentorship really helps us overcome how much we criticize ourselves.
As a recovering type A people pleaser over here, I would say that you really nailed it there. I think perspective is a word that comes to mind. I could bore you all day to tell you trials and tribulations that really have put me in the storm. Who you are in those moments are just as important as who you are on the other end of it. If we look into what women are doing these days, it's different than it was 30, 50, 100 years ago. To me personally, I'm a mom. I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm the head chef of my home, and I'm in this professional environment. And I think that giving yourself grace, putting things into perspective, giving yourself space, right, to learn and to grow and to feel things out, those are all valuable things that you can do to help you be successful, no matter which hat you're wearing that day.
Yes, I love you touched on that. That's something I think we do with such grace sometimes that we don't even realize we're doing it.
Yeah, 100%. That's right.
So given that you're wearing all these hats, how do you get through your day-to-day? What's your go-to?
Okay, so real answer is therapy. Yeah. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest here. I'm an advocate of therapy and counseling, and that kind of goes into mentorship too. I think every single one of us on planet Earth have something we can be working on. I just find that therapy is powerful. I also find taking care of myself. How can I be the best mom? How can I be the best employee? How can I be the best marketer? Or in this conversation, how can I best pave the way for the women behind me if I'm not taking care of me? I think, finding space to do the things that bring your heart joy, whether it's reading, riding a dirt bike, or whatever that is, to take care of yourself. Because once you've fixed you, once you're working on you, so many things will just naturally happen positively, right? And I find that in the moments where I'm struggling being grounded, it comes back to, I'm not taking care of myself. And so whatever that means for you or whoever's listening, like lean in on that, whether you're a journaler or you like to go take a drive and listen to whatever kind of music as loud as you can, whatever it is, find that little moment in your day-to-day to where you just recenter yourself and you remind yourself of your truths, like who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, who you're doing it for, and just focus on those things. Because if we get caught up in the storm, we can lose ourselves and then we lose our missions. So that would be my recommendation.
I think that's great. Self-love goes so far. And so
yeah.
I think that's really important. Like you said, it's really easy for us to be guilty of not giving ourselves enough time, enough grace. And to even in those moments when you're sitting alone to go, okay, it's okay that I'm not okay right now. and I need to just breathe, or I need to just scream in this pillow, or go get a Starbucks alone, or whatever it may be. So that's wonderful advice for everybody that's going to be listening into this. Thank you so much for that and for your time today. I think that having you on really shows the growth that's going on in the world, even for women, supporting women, especially in the male dominated industries that are surrounding us. And I just thank you so much for the time that you've given us today to come on here and to talk to everybody.
It's my pleasure. So thanks for the time.
Thank you. And if anybody needed to get a hold of you, Makenzi, where could they find you?
Find me on LinkedIn. It's Makenzi Roberts. You should be able to find me easy.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Media Rebel Unplugged. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join the rebellion. So stay bold, stay caffeinated, and we'll catch you next time.